Hi everybody, thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive. Greetings dear ones, I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. My partner literally steps away. His consciousness is split. As many times as he does this, it's always new. He knows what to expect, but each time is slightly different. Dear ones, this is channeling as he does it. And as we've said before, there is no generic way to channel. A human being opens themselves up, and it can come out in song. Greatest paintings that you ever saw and experienced and felt, enjoyed, have been channeled. Greatest melodies of the planet, channeled. The beautiful sculptures that you see that speak to you have been channeled. And so it comes out in so many different ways. But even those who do what you hear now are different, one to the other. Some humans must be literally taken out of consciousness, therefore they remember nothing. Then there's my partner who was asked to remain. And because he did, it took him longer. To understand what is being said, to cognize it, and to check for its integrity. Dear ones, this morning I gave a message. And I must tell those who did not hear it why they're not hearing it. The message was for you in the room. Some of you have already decided why, and there's some truth in this. Let us just say personal messages were delivered in ways that were accepted and understood. It wasn't necessary to record them. But some principles were put forward that we wish to review for those who are hearing this message. It's a principle that many have not heard. And I want to add something else to it. But before I go any further, I want to tell you that in this room, in this place, what happened this morning is still happening. There's messages being delivered to those that need to hear them and feel them. No accidents that bring you to the chairs. You know that. Long after you leave this place, this can continue. There's a linearity in your thinking that says you've come to an event, and when it's over, it's over. That the channeler leaves, but I'd like to tell you what remains. The connection remains. If you have made a connection this day, and have felt something different this day that was pleasant to you, that was compassionate to you, that felt like home to you, you have made a connection with Spirit, not with the channeler. And when he leaves, long after he leaves, the connection remains. We have said this so often. But you need to hear that in this room. You're never alone. Never. An entourage is always with you, literally. It's the same one that always was. But if you made a connection, you're feeling it more. A little while ago, we started talking about something in physics which is also very spiritual. We talked about something called the field. Now, this has been known in physics by many names, and we'll say yet again that those who would use the word entrainment or even entanglement only have a piece or a part of the story of something that is very real and that plays a bigger part than ever in the new energy on this planet. The field is what we jokingly called physics with an attitude. You would expect there to be a balance in physics. Yes, no, and the answer is yes. You would expect physics and biology to work together in harmony always to create things that work. And the answer is yes. You also know that there is a specific kind of harmony that happens, a symbiosis, between the very elements of nature and physics. If you try to disturb one, it disturbs all. It's very difficult for humanity to ever balance something that has gone out of balance because they did it. And so already you know that nature then craves a certain system of balance, and it achieves it, whether humans are here or not. So there's a system. You know there's a system. But the field is something that you might even say is above and beyond it. And the field is starting to present itself on this planet in a greater way because of the shift. When you've made this shift, dear humanity, it's almost like you've made a statement, I'm staying. There's an evolution process that starts to occur. We've discussed it over and over. But in this process, there is a catalyst that starts to occur. A catalyst in physics that actually cooperates with that which you are doing and that which is happening to you now. We said earlier, the wind is at your back in this new energy. It's more than that. Physics is involved in a way to the light worker, to the old soul. You can start to feel this. It's the field. The field, as defined, is something that wishes to create harmony. It pushes things together to create harmony. In a way that you may even say that that's not really fair, because physics is supposed to be something that's absolute, and here you have a physical attribute that tries to connect things. Dear ones, this is no different than Mother Nature, of Gaia. It really isn't. It's another kind of symbiotic relationship, only this one is the human being to the creative source. Something that pushes things together, that makes them work differently, that opens doors and avenues. It's called the field. We'll talk more and more about this, but it's evident and obvious. But it's starting to create different things than you expect. The first is a review of this morning, for those who are not here. I started to tell you that there are reasons why human beings live in areas of this planet that have not seen war. If you take a look at where most of the channelers have come from in the last 25 years, it will be land that did not see war. Because the crystalline grid of this planet remembers what humans do. And so those who find places to live all over this planet that are fresh, that have had no layers and layers of drama and war and death and sorrow, are literally sitting on virgin land. And that creates something that now the field is using. Many are called to certain areas all over the planet and wonder why they're called there. And it doesn't matter what the temperature is. You come to a place and you feel this is your place. and this is where you stay. And a certain kind of consciousness that will come to a place of this nature all over the planet will create something that I want to talk about. My partner was recently in a place called Patagonia. Beautiful. Untouched. Very few people. But the ones who live there will stay there. And they say there is no other place like it. And they're called there. Even some of them live alone there. There are other places just like this, where there have been no wars. There's been no mass destruction and layers of history. And it's clean. And they feel it. It's more allied with Gaia and nature than any other places on the planet. And they're all over. Now this is for those of you who are listening, who live in some of these places and wonder why you're there. We've talked about this in the deserts. We've talked about this all over the planet where these kinds of places exist. There's something happening to you. If you live in one of these places, I will tell you something. In this new energy, because of the field, there is a connection with all of humanity. Those of you who are old souls are connected to others who are old souls. But there are so many old souls in places that are not pristine, who are not fresh. I think of those in the Middle East, on either side of the situation. And they sit upon land that is always ripe with trouble. Layer after layer, as far down as they dig, they find other cities that were conquered, that were taken. What chance do they have when they go into a meditative state to feel that, which is what others feel when they're on land that has had no issues? And I'll tell you, for the first time, the field is harmonizing them together. They can go into a meditative state and they can feel the absolute beauty, pristine freshness, the virginity of the land, the connection with Gaia, and they're not even there. And the reason is because those who are in those places are transmitting it to them. So if you live in one of these places, anywhere on the planet, you know you're in one or not. You are then being what I'll call a lighthouse, a transmitter, for what you have to what they don't have, so that they can have it. And they can feel the connection to Gaia, and they can feel the peace that not is, perhaps not where they sit. This is important for you to know. This is fairly new. For the field has always been there. But in this new energy past 2012, it is one of the physical attributes of Gaia that is beginning to shift. The shift not only is occurring naturally because you made the shift, but it's being triggered by the nodes and the nulls. That is the trigger for Gaia. We have discussed this before, what they do with the crystalline grid. We've discussed it before. As they come online, they will then align the planet to do what it now is supposed to do with you. Gaia is really involved here, more than ever before. So I say this to those who wish to sit and feel the pristineness and the beauty of Gaia, and they're in a place that doesn't have it. They're in a difficult place, in the middle perhaps of a city, a big city. where even when you go to a park, you know that underneath it there are tubes with trains, and you're not connected. There's mechanics all around. There are magnetic fields interfering with your very life. How are they ever going to feel the pristineness and the beauty of Gaia? And I will say to them, just tune in. Because there are transmitters and lighthouses all over this planet living in these areas that are so beautiful and so connected and so pristine and so virgin. Connected with Mother Nature in a way that is beautiful and solid and forever. And I invite them to feel it. That's just one of the new things. Old souls are starting to transmit to each other. Now you shouldn't be surprised that these kinds of things are happening. There's another one as well. Difficult to talk about this. It has to do with human nature, personalities, bad habits, old habits, fears. Let me ask you, anyone listening right now, how do you talk to others? What's the natural, neutral point? Not those in the room. I ask this audience who is listening now. And you would say, well, I have to be a little forceful to get what I need. Because I live in a difficult place. And so I approach things perhaps with a little more aggressive than most people do. And I would say to you, does that mean you're unkind to them? And that person may say, well, I don't mean to, but sometimes they say I am. But this is the only way I can get what I need. And I say, really? Because something is going to happen. And I want to tell you what it is. Because of the field. Dear ones, for many years I have said that this new energy, there can be no more fence sitting. And what I mean by that is you cannot claim to be one thing and then go out and be another. It has many names, but the fence sitter is the best. You don't want to necessarily commit to the esoteric things when the channel is over. It's how you treat the waiter who comes to your table when you have dinner. It's how you treat those on the road who cut you off. It's what you say about others when they're not there. Now you might say, well, it's good advice and thank you, Kryon, and I'll be more kind. That's not what I'm telling you. I would like to tell you there is something going on. You see, the field wants harmony. It tries to put things together, and it's starting to increase its effect. The field is all around you. You listen to Kryon, perhaps. You've been to meetings, perhaps. And you've heard everything that I have had to say about the beauty of compassion and how you're moving into the age of compassion and what compassionate action means and the energies of it and how much easier it's going to be. And you listen and you listen. And then you go out and do whatever you want to. And when somebody is not pleasing to you, you're unkind and cutting to them. It's the only way you've lived before, perhaps. Perhaps insulting people gets your results. And you'll come back then and listen to Kryon. Feel very good. You're very spiritual until you leave the house. It isn't going to work anymore. And let me tell you why. Dear ones, the field wants to create harmony and put things together. And if the field cannot put things together, those things that it would put together become more unbalanced than they ever have before. How would you like to age faster and die quicker? If that's what you want, then continue, fence sitter. Because your very cellular structure will be rejected by the field. And what that truly means is that unbalance in your chemistry will result from unbalance in your personality. This is so profound, and you don't even know it's happening. And what you have perhaps done, some of you, not those in this room, some of you listening to this, where you felt just fine to be spiritual when you wanted to, and then go out and then be angry or have drama or be insulting. I will tell you that the ones who have learned compassion will live a lot longer than you do. And how does that make you feel? It is here in front of you. Right now, things are happening we told you might happen if you passed the marker when I got here 26 years ago, and they're happening. And one of them is this: you cannot sit on the fence. You either are connected in some way to spirit with intent, or you're not, and you can't pretend. You can't pretend. Your body knows. This is not a punishment. It is a system. It's a system of beauty. It wants to harmonize that which you do and is ready to help. There are those who said, well, I'd like to do this. I'd like to harmonize, but I've had a whole life of a habit. This is just the way I work. Here's what I want to tell you. That with your intent and your affirming that you are going to change into a more compassionate person, the field will be right there. It's going to be the wind behind your back. You're going to find yourself thinking about things different, looking at others different, using different words. You're going to find you have more energy. You're going to feel your cellular structure healing when it never did before. Sores on your body will heal up faster. Did you know that? This is real. Hair will grow faster. Nails will grow faster. Did you know that? And the reason is because there is a harmony here that hasn't been here in a very long time. How would you like to take everything that I have said through the years and apply it finally to a persona that you are? So that you become a more compassionate person, slower to anger. All of this is possible because the field is on your side. Think of it as a magnificent, angelic presence who is ready to help you with everything that you're asking to become more compassionate, more master-like. I already told you the results. It's not just that you're going to live longer. People will notice. People around you. If you're young enough, your children will notice. May I say this? Even animals will notice. They'll come to you when they didn't before, because now you emanate on your Merkaba a pattern which is totally different than the pattern that it was before. No anger. Very little drama. You emanate peace. You invite compassion. Dear ones, I would not give you this information if it were not so. I want you to get ready for more of this. It's starting to happen on the planet, but especially I speak to old souls who want to be fence sitters. Come and enjoy the energy, leave and do what you want. There is a reckoning for that. And some of you will feel it. And you'll wonder why you're so tired so often. It's time to come into alignment with the creative source that is all through your body. It is here for you and always has been. The easiest thing you could do was to relax and find the compassion that has always been there. These are the things that I wish to tell you today. These are the things that need to be said. This is what is happening in the shift. You're going to see it. In so many ways, you can watch it as well. For even those on the planet that are not invested in spirituality will have the same result. Those who are unkind will bring unkindness. They will bring unbalance. They will manifest their own demise. Those who are gracious and compassionate will attract that which is beautiful and works. Watch for it. There used to be that it was neutral. There are those who would say, how could that person exist and be so ugly to other people? How can they sleep at night? You've heard that before. Well, I'm going to tell you something. Those days are over. They won't sleep at night. They will create their own demise. There's now a payoff because there's more light on this planet than there ever has before, and this field of harmony is starting to invade everything. It's almost like the beauty of Mother Nature is starting to affect humanity and expect the same things. Symbiotic systems that work with compassion and beauty. It's going to change human nature. And we've said that before as well. I am Kryon, in love with humanity, congratulating you on the shift. And so it is. Hi everybody, thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. I wish to continue the theme of love. I want to give you an idea of something so simple, yet so powerful. And within the explanation, to show you how some of the older paradigms of the planet might have to be broken in order for the simplicity to come through. What if I've told you that you have overcomplicated God? This comes, dear ones, from the humanism idea that grand things must be complicated. The old paradigm of human perception is filled with old consciousness and old ideas and old ways. Good for their time, working for their time, but it doesn't mean that you have to pull them in to something that is brand new. We've spoken of the energy which is new. It's not the energy necessarily, dear ones, it's the paradigm of reality, of what is today as opposed to what was yesterday. And here's how it goes. I've heard people say, Kryon, we listen to you. We like what you have to say, and we're starting to apply some of it. However, we need to know something. What is your belief system? What are you teaching? And what I would say back to that is there is no system. And the human would say there must be. For when you look around the planet, all of those who believe in the creative source have some kind of structure. And in that structure there are rules. And in the rules, therefore, are the right and wrong ways to do things. that would then enhance the worship or the knowledge of the Creator. Kryon, in that, where do you fit? What do we tell our friends when we say we want them to hear Kryon and they say, well, what are the rules? What's the system? I want to ask you something. What if, just for a moment, follow this idea that you could pretend for just a moment that your soul could stand before the Creator of all things, all by itself, and suddenly the eyes of God were on you, and you could ask the question to the creative source, what is your system? There would be a smile and an overwhelming feeling of caring and compassion when the creative source said, there is no system, there is only love. And if you came back to the planet, you would say, you know, there is only love from the creative source. And the humans would say, well, yes, that's correct, but you are not God. You have to have a system in order to make sense of that which you don't understand, which is God. And this is the difference, dear ones, between an old and a new energy. What if I told you there is no system? Love is not a system. Love is a reality. It is an existence. It is what it is. Love contains all of the attributes of everything you'd ever have to know or be or do in order to have the right kind of living and the right kind of life before God. Because you become that essence which has no system, which is one with everything. There's so much that we could tell you here that is starting to shift and change. You know this. We've said this before, that when a human falls in love with another human, in those first days, when it even affects your system, and you feel just a little crazy, and it's beautiful, that should tell you right then, if one of you asks the other one, well, let's stop for a moment and analyze the system. You don't, because there is no reason, because love is pure and complete. And if it's true love, it lasts a very long time because of those attributes. If you walk into nature, dear ones, in the middle of the trees and the forests, and you said to the trees, what is the system of nature? The trees would smile at you and say, there is no system. And you would say, well, certainly there is. Look at all of the things that go into making you exist, and you've got to relate to it all. And the trees would say, you see, we relate to it because it's a relationship. A tree will have a relationship with the dirt, with the insects and the birds and the sun, and with carbon dioxide and with oxygen. The relationship is what each tree has, and it's different from tree to tree. But overall, the relationship is about oneness with all things. The tree doesn't have a set of rules that tells it how to live, or where it can put its roots, or what is pleasing or not pleasing to a God that created the tree. And that is one of the reasons why you can walk into nature and feel so free, realizing that there is no system of do's and don'ts, because it is self-evident and common sense that the relationship takes care of all of it. There'll come a day when people will not ask you what box you're in anymore. And you say, the relationship is good enough. And so I answer, what is the system? No system. It's called love. Because love and that relationship you would have with the Creator itself contains absolutely everything you'd ever need to know. When you have love and compassion, the rules, if you want to call them the rules, are self-evident and common sense on how you treat the one next to you, the ones that you meet that you don't know. The attitude of life that you would have walking into strange places. It changes the way you think about luck, if you even want to use the word. It starts to make you understand that the relationship to the Creator is a design that you create as well. And where you walk, you create love. This is simpler, dear ones, than a set of rules that you have to adhere to. Do you really think that the Creator of the universe cares what you wear? And there are those who do. Because in an old energy, they have created human rules with human ideas and human perceptions, thinking that these are what God would have. And in a new energy on this planet that is starting to appear, all by itself because of what you've done, and this shift starts to become self-evident, more and more will turn away from a system, a belief, and instead intertwine themselves in the beautiful relationship of love. We have said so many times that the word love to you has so many meanings and it only goes so far, but I will say to you that it is endless and it's enormous. It's more beautiful than anything you can even begin to imagine. The light of 1,000 suns is a drop in the bucket to the light of the love of the Creator. And in that, I tell you also that your soul carries all of it. When the prophet Elijah walked into the field, he was going to ascend, and he knew that. And the ascension of Elijah is a metaphor for who humans are. Ascension meant that he was going to leave his corporal body, that body that he has, corporeal in nature, and it would vanish, and he would then become the soul that walks the earth, just like you. And he knew what was going to happen, and so he had his understudy, Elisha, write it down. Don't miss a thing, he said. Tell everything you see. And Elisha saw so many metaphors and so many things written so carefully in Scripture. But the biggest thing he saw was this, that Elijah turned into the light of 1,000 suns. Too bright to look at, unbelievable to any human being that there could be a light that bright. That was Elisha's soul. And dear ones, it's just like yours. It is pure, without rules, without systems. Because love is self-evident in its compassion, and it tells the story through its intuition of how you would live and receive and give to every other human or living thing on the planet. It's so beautiful and elegant in its instructions, so intuitive, that the proof is this, is that when you meet someone else who has that love, you meet them eye to eye and you see them as family. Because you both understand exactly what I'm talking about.
This is not the New Age, dear ones. But that was the name given to something before that had rules. It bothers many that the believers here in this room would not have a prophet or a place to go to with a name or a set of rules or a denomination. And they would be seen as floaters without a home and without a center. And dear ones, that is the perception of an old energy that needed to be grounded in rules, in beliefs, that put a veil before God. Blessed is the human being who understands this and strips away all of that, if even for a moment to test it and say, is love enough? And the answer will always be more than enough. This is the message we will continue to give on this planet that continues to change with new paradigms that become self-evident. And so it is. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time-sensitive.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. My partner has learned something over the years. The process he has, which you call channeling, is also his sweet spot. Regardless of what is happening around him in his life, the issues, the frustrations, the problems which he has, some of the same that you do, they all disappear. When he sits in front of Spirit in this way. This is available for all of you. And it's not called channeling. It's not even called meditation. You can do it with your eyes wide open even when you drive. This is a 24/7 relationship with what we call the house in the fog. We spoke yesterday about this elusive house in the fog that my partner found, that you have found as well. That so many of you listening to this have found. And it is a metaphor for the house which is yours with the many rooms. Not the house of a prophet or a belief system. Not the house that somebody told you was available for many and it's the same house. The reason it's in the fog is because you must discover it yourself with your intent. It does not show itself, dear ones. And this is by design. So that humanity, when it starts to move, will have done so on its own, by itself, with pure intent and discovery. Now, there are all manner of kinds of houses in the fog. One of them is integrity. In all kinds of things, without any spirituality, just a different way of thinking. But the one I want to continue talking about right now is that which we discussed yesterday. The house in the fog is you. The power of you, what's in the house, and what's different there. Let us back up. I told you yesterday that there was a time when my partner was pleased with everything he was. There was no reason to search for any more. And this suits much of human population and civilization. They're in the box we talked about this morning. Don't disturb them. They're working with it. It's happening. In my partner's case, he found the house in the fog, that is to say, the one that was hidden, because that which occurred to him pushed a button of curiosity. Is there more? Now, Spirit cannot show you the house, but it can push the button of curiosity over and over and over. Sometimes it's through synchronicity. You bring a friend to this meeting. They don't understand anything that's happening, but when they leave, they realize that perhaps there's a house in the fog someplace with their name on it. And it starts a process that they must then pursue. This is free choice. The metaphor is clear. You've got to want to go there. Most of you sitting here and even listening to my voice have done so. But now it gets good. There are many rooms in this house, and in an old energy, you have opened the door and explored so many of them. We mentioned yesterday that so many of them were beliefs. And the challenge was to see if they matched yours. Could you justify the idea that you'd lived before? That's one of the rooms. Is it possible there's something called an Akashic record which would have then recorded what you did before? That's another room. So far, all of the rooms are very 3D. That is to say, they represent things and beliefs. Is it possible that sound and color has vibration that would heal? It's facts, beliefs, processes, even physics. And it requires that you open the door, take a look, close it if you're not ready, and come back when you are, if ever. And here we sit with the house in the fog with many rooms. Now we want to tell you something. You've now discovered a stairway. And you start going up the stairway, and the name of the stairway is profound. It has many names, dear ones. It is the shift of the planet, the precession of the equinoxes, the prophecy of the eagle and the condor, the city on the hill, peace on earth. And the stairway beckons itself for you to discover new rooms in your own house. The second story literally is the next story to be told. And you walk up the stairs and you are presented now with more rooms, and they're not near as easy. They present now a puzzle that deals with your inner core, that which is you, not necessarily something you want to believe in or you're curious about, but something that you have to work with that will change you forever. And there they are. You can even see the names on the doors, and some of you won't want to open them. And others will be brave enough to say, I'll try now. Come back later when I understand it more. The first one is called purpose. Very difficult, very difficult. A concept. What is your purpose on the planet? Not 3D. I am talking about your soul on earth. Why so many lifetimes? Why at all? Why now? And some of you have it figured out and some of you don't. And many don't want to try. It's too complicated. You're afraid of too much responsibility. You 3Dize it. You want to box it in there. You'll say, I know what my purpose is to help humanity and write this book and do this and this and this. You missed it completely. Purpose of spiritual soul. Why are you here? And I will tell you that as that door starts to open and you really want to look at it, you're going to be presented with some curious things. For that door inside contains puzzles. You have to take your three-dimensional mind and throw it away. And you're going to have to look at the concept of life at all. And if you ever found out the true reason, and you will, you'll smile. And that will lead you to the next house. You exist because you are part of the creative source and the plan that is beautiful. It has nothing to do with you. Your purpose is God. Ask those who walked the land here thousands of years ago what was their purpose, and they would say to be part of that which was everything, to balance what was. So much were they a part of it, they didn't even know how old they were. They weren't counting. It's time for you to stop counting and stop figuring it out. Because when you see real purpose, you'll know you are part of a very, very large plan of benevolence, of galactic purpose and love. It is universal. It's not about you, because you are a piece of everything. Can you decentralize, or will it always be about the you that you walk around in the body that you have? This is the second story, dear ones. This is those who wish to become quantum. The second room is called self-balance. This is not obvious. But dear ones, if you accomplish the first one, and you have a far larger sense of why and who and purpose, you're going to start relaxing and realize that the things that take place and happen to you are fleeting. And that although you may mark them as significant, you may be frustrated by them, even fear. If you pass the first room, you'll also know that you will recover in whatever that means, because you are forever and you are self-balancing. Inside you is the master healer, the master psychologist, the channeler. All of those things, because you are part of the plan of God. You are self-balancing. If you are in the depths of despair, in the closet, a victim of all things in your mind, it's only a matter of time when that'll go away. The wise human will know that, and when they're in the depths of despair, will find something to keep them busy. Because time will take care of it, and you'll know it. Can you imagine? Can you imagine, no matter how you feel, no matter how angry or frustrated you are, if you knew there was the light coming, and all you had to do was wait, you would act differently instead of scrambling for solutions and survival. It's a different way of thinking, isn't it? A whole different concept. Room number 3. If you would get past the first 2 rooms, number 3 has a sign on it that says completeness. You are complete. How many of you keep waiting for what you're supposed to be doing? Don't raise your hand. There is a feeling of linearity within you. The clock is always ticking, and you want to know what you're going to do when you grow up. And this is very common, especially with old souls. Especially because you see at some level the power that you have. And you're never complete. You're never complete. When you go to bed at night and you think about who you are and where you are and what's going on, can you honestly say, I am that I am. I am complete with myself. If nothing ever happens past here, it's beautiful. Thank you, God. And I will tell you that most light workers don't think that way. What about the incomplete project that's going to make the difference, or where you're about to go, or the next level, or those kinds of things? It's a human bias of time and also of what we will call bias of hierarchy. You're always reaching to the next rung to be higher than you are today, with the idea that a higher vibration is going to make you better and those around you better, not realizing you're complete. You're complete. Now, you may do many things in linearity, but you're complete. God sees you as complete. Why can't you? There's a difference here. Very difficult, very subtle to understand when you say there's things that I must accomplish and do. Oh, how human of you. Not when you are spiritually whole and complete. And that should give you a feeling of relaxation. No matter what I'm going through, you'll say I'm complete. I know the purpose is beyond this lifetime, even the next lifetime. I am eternal and I'm complete. I'll walk this planet and do what I must, but it's not going to bother me because I am complete. Can you have peace with yourself? This is also very difficult. Those who have passed the first doors and are complete have total peace with themselves. And you may be in a situation where you're not finished and you know you're not finished, or you're frustrated because things around you are not moving. In fact, you feel like you're never settled. The biggest challenge: can you be at peace with yourself anyway? The new normal is this way. It pushes and pulls you with an old energy that tells you you are incomplete, you're not worthy, and you're never satisfied. You want to know what a balanced old soul looks like? They glow because they're satisfied and peaceful with who they are. And they may be in the midst of turmoil in 3D. Do you see how these rooms are more advanced than you thought? They're difficult even for my partner to deliver the message because he has linear concepts and he is discussing quantum ones. The final door is the hardest. It's difficult to even have a name on it. We're going to call it the new human. It's evolution. Are you ready for such a change that you won't even feel like a human being? A change that you cannot fathom, and one that all planets of ascension have gone through. So remarkably difficult is it that some have had many psychological problems with it because it is so different that you feel you're losing your mind. And yet it is sustainable through the love of God and with the help of holding the hand of the Creator. Dear ones, when you start being in touch with your DNA at a higher percentage and you're moving toward what we will call the 44 percentile, your brain functions differently and starts to work with innate and even the heart energy. A new process begins with you. It affects everything you are. You see things that you've never seen before, awarenesses of things you were never aware of before. You hear differently. You perceive differently. And it's all you can do not to be strange. You keep it to yourself until you find that others are experiencing similar things. This is one of the most difficult shifts that's coming for humanity. The Pleiadians went through it. They know what it is. If I told you what they could do now at DNA working at over 80%, you would recognize it, because this is what the masters who walked the planet were able to do. Think about this. Consciousness over physics. The ability to produce objects and things with your mind that are real. Where nature actually obeys the physics of your consciousness because it is higher than that. Did you hear that? That the consciousness that you have, which is mastery itself, nature obeys it. Are you ready for that? You say you are. No, you're not. Not yet. But it will begin slowly. And when it does, you're not going crazy, dear ones. You've just met yourself, the real self. Some of you will know what I'm talking about, not too distant future. Now listen, all of you, listen, complete with yourself. Look in the mirror. I want you to imagine you don't look like that. Don't let the gender fool you. You're going to look eternal. The next time around, the next time around, the next time around. There's a lot to do. And you'll keep coming back and doing it and living longer and wiser as you do. And the mirror can never reflect the second story. This channel is a puzzle to many. But it had to be given on this land. The energy is correct for it. It's why some of you came. And you'll want to hear it again. Like all of the others, this channel is given in love and benevolence to those who have passed the marker. We've seen this before, and it is exciting. Be complete. Breathe. Relax. And know that all is well. And so it is. Hi everybody, thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. My partner steps aside, as he always does, and lets an energy come in that he is now very used to. Uncertain of what that energy will say, but certain that it's pure, accurate, true, loving, compassionate, benevolent, and part of a greater system that is partially hidden to the human beings who listen. And the partially hidden part in the past has always been the fear part. Anything that hides must be bad, according to old human nature. Why hide it if it wasn't trouble, they say. And the human beings who feel that way have missed it completely. Why do you wrap presents, put them under the tree in this culture for your children? Are they going to open it and find a snake? You have something for them that is beyond what they know, and at the right time it is presented. And until then it hides. And this is very similar, dear ones. And in the old energy, the hidden things were because you hadn't got to a place where you even knew they were available. And now in this energy, they're yours. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more tonight. But in this system, if you want to call it, there is a grandness of discovery that for some of you is not so grand. Because you really haven't let yourself see it.
You've covered yourself with a cloak. That is humanism. The one you were born with, the one your parents told you was there, the ones that the circumstances in your life have created, that you accepted, the ones that you talk about. Not understanding that it is a shell that you can break through anytime you want. And start to understand the potentials of what really is there. As you walk through life, all manner of things are brought to you that become challenges because they are not the things you expected, or they interrupt the flow, or they create sorrow. There are frustrations for all those who are humans, and that is because you live together with free choice. Anyone can go whatever direction that they wish. And if they don't even know that, they will go a direction that their body will go. And in that, of course, there will be confusion, unexpected things that take place, sorrowful things, joyful things, benevolent things. It's a mixture, isn't it? As my partner says, some believe they walk around rolling the dice. What will it be today? How will it be tomorrow? And that is like saying, I'm not in control at all. And the dice I have in my hand that I'm about to roll creates chance. And that's what I'm going to get because I'm not in control. Others will say, I admit I'm not in control, but therefore I can call on the divine and it's in control. So I'll get help from the outside. The thought of that works for many, but it's still not accurate, not fully accurate at all. The truth is this: inside you is the ability to break the wall completely and see, perhaps for the first time, a new system. And it is new. Since 2012, it is more available than ever before. The last channeling we gave before this one, very last one, was about your DNA and what has taken place with it. It talks about something that we rarely speak of. The fact that the human being is starting to develop a consciousness through its DNA that is multidimensional. You have been linear in your thinking, in your expectations, in all the things that you have, even spiritually. You have been so linear for generations and generations, thousands of years. And suddenly, there is a shift. And the shift isn't just in the energy of this planet or the magnetics or in the consciousness. The shift, truly, is that humanity itself is starting to gather an energy it never even knew it had. The way you think is becoming different. What would it be for a human being to have multidimensional consciousness? And the answer is multi-layered, for it starts in one area, it goes to another and graduates to another. When you start becoming a multidimensional thinker, you think out of all of the paradigms that you were ever given. Tonight I'm going to tell you about a library. It's a metaphor for something else. And this is going to show you the power, truly, that is inside each one of you. What if you're not what you thought? If you could throw away all the paradigms that you were given, what would they be? How about the paradigms of aging? What about the paradigms of health? What about the paradigms of what the doctors tell you? What about the paradigms of the scientists who tell you how things happened on the planet? What about what you learned in the textbooks in school of who you are and how you got here?
What if I told you that every single thing I just spoke of, you learned incorrectly? And you learned them incorrectly because it's the best you had. It's where human nature and the mind, even of a brilliant scientist, will go. In an old energy that has nothing more than linear thought, linear evidence. And suddenly you don't. You're going to have something open up that even goes beyond time itself. If that's true, Kryon, what is the first thing that we could then do? Show us the staircase we need, one at a time. Dear ones, if you become multidimensional, there can be no more stairs. For becoming multidimensional, even a little, is something that requires you to see the stairs as one object, and you go in both directions, sometimes even sideways, in order to think out of this box of linearity. But I'll tell you the one thing that would help the most is to rewind for a moment, as much as you can, to the happiest time in your life. Some of you were children for that time, others were not. And no matter what has happened in the interim, that you would capture that for a moment and put it right back where it belongs on you today. And you would say, I can't do that. Too much has happened. There's too much water under the bridge, Kryon. And I would say to you, oh, dear ones, how linear you are with your water. Under the bridge, going from one area to another. Aging. Climbing that ladder of disappointment and frustration and sorrow that so many of you just have so much of. And we'd say instead, there is something special for the rest of your life, if you want it. And that specialness has to come from you peeling that onion of awareness. The onion is old. Been in the refrigerator too long. And you're going to start peeling it. And in that you will then see that there is more. And in the process there will be some tears while you peel the onion. But I'll tell you what happens as you peel it. You start revealing truth. And the truth you see is not what you tried before that didn't work. The truth is not what you expect. And the first thing you'll start to feel is peacefulness. You might wake up in the morning and say, something has happened, I feel too good today. With all the things around me that have happened, or all that's going to happen, or what I have to do, or what I think might happen, I feel pretty good. And you'll start understanding and realizing what's real and what is not in your life. I was asked a question just a couple of days ago in Channel. What are people going to do with the circumstances of their life? How are you going to feel good when you have all these things, these circumstances? And my answer was, the circumstances are what the humans have created. Get rid of the circumstances. That's what you did. What's your reaction to it? How are you feeling? Are you depressed? Do you fear it? Do you think it's coming back? What's the frustration? And all of those words I just gave you are humans reacting to what is around them. So circumstances are what humans create. There's not the reality that is around you. What if you took what is around you and reshaped it and reframed it? I know this is not something I want. This is frustrating. I have a team with me that is divine because I have a soul and a multidimensional self which is beyond any of this. I will not be frustrated and add to this, which will then eventually age me. I will not accept anger in this because all things happen for reasons that I don't know. I will hook to that which is divine and be thankful for every day. My chemistry will change because of it.
And I will last a lot longer than my doctor said I would last. My chemistry will chase away the diseases that want to attach to me because I worry, because I'm afraid, because I don't have that which is the child anymore. That takes courage. It takes courage to say it, to believe it. And there will be those who leave the room and say, well, that's Pollyanna thinking. If you think something, Kryon says, well, you're going to get it. Why don't you give it a shot and find out if what you expect and what you think and what you cognize and believe might actually change the circumstances around you. Dear ones, you're entering a phase of humanity that is new and different, and some are starting to feel. They're waking up and saying, something has changed. I feel too good. I'm having a good day and I didn't think I would. Perhaps I should change my expectations. It seems that if I expect a good day, I'm getting a lot more of them. It seems that I'm not fearing as much. I'm not disappointed as much. I'm not frustrated as much. Some of the same things are happening with every day. And the same people are in my life doing the same things. And somehow it's bouncing off me. And somehow I know that I am beyond all of it. And my reactions have become more benevolent and understanding and compassionate. That, my dear human being, is becoming multidimensional. For in that multidimensionality is a buzzword you're going to hear more about than ever before. The confluence of compassion. More than coincidence. You have coherence. Coherence of thought that matches the Creator. As you become multidimensional, you start to bring on the aspects of the divine within you. The coherence is with the other side of the veil, finally. Without ever having to go to a reader, a minister, a priest, anyone that is outside of yourself. And instead, you feel it, and the connection is there, and you don't want to let go of it. And it's not going away by itself as long as you keep peeling the onion and expecting the benevolence of God inside you. This is the truth. And the masters all over the planet have given you the same information. But now, you're the master. You're the one who can sit at your own feet. You're your own ancestor. You're awakening on your own. This is the challenge for those coming from the old to the new. Let it be so this day, that there are changes within, seeds being planted of potentials for a longer and grander life than you ever expected you'd have, no matter how old you are. I'll be back. And so it is. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. This is channel number 8. It's message 8. And if you believe in the sacred things that we have discussed for many years, you'll start to understand that there are messages within patterns and within numbers. Someday, when you get to the point in science where quantum energy can be seen, it will have patterns. And the patterns will be ones you have not seen before, but that are sacred geometry. Physics is filled with God. 8 in Tibetan numerology means abundance. It is one of the special numbers that is a message. And it includes not just abundance, but responsibility. So you might say the definition of 8 would be responsibility and abundance. I started all of this in message number 1 with the hero's journey. And we talked about the similarities of the stories that are so beloved, all the way from the Greeks and before to the ones you have today. And those similarities are extremely striking in this, the intuitive journey that humans want to go on. They want to read about them. They want them in their media. They want them in their films. They want them in their imaginations. And again, what every single one of them has in common is first the courage to go on the journey. Instead of simply sitting and saying, someone else, they'll do it. Someone else will do it. And they pick themselves up and they go on the journey and they gather those who will come with them who feel the same. And every single one of the stories that we talked about in message number 1 have the same attributes. And these attributes are actually the same ones as humanity has in their journey through 2012. Did you notice in every single hero story, in every journey, in every one, there was some kind of magic? Whether it was in this land, Merlin, or in the case of Jason, he had it. We talked about the hero story in Star Wars. He had it. We talked about Frodo and Lord of the Rings. He had his wizard. And then Harry Potter did too. It seems that magic, or what seems as magic, is one of the ingredients in the hero's journey. You expect it. You want it there. And there are those who would say, well, in the evolution of humanity's hero's journey, where is the magic? And here's what I want to tell you, dear ones. This is what you're discovering. You're just starting to realize that inside you are the ability to do things that heretofore have been considered magic. It is inbred in all of you. And it is part of that which will be the new evolution of humanity. And we've spoken of that before as well. But an evolution that starts being able to tap into what some of you have even called the innate. Tapping into what some of you have even called the higher self. What would happen if normal humanity was able to intuit to the degree that they knew what was coming? that they had intuition and guidance to know how to proceed the best way, that systems would change and that new systems they'd never thought of would be here. Systems that would be compassionate systems where everybody would win. Imagine a corporation selling products. Everybody wins. Putting thousands of people to work and you find benevolence everywhere. Imagine a government where the benevolence is considered to be the golden rule and compassion is considered to be something that is beautiful and looked for. Right now, dear ones, you're looking at the oldest energies that the earth has ever seen, and it's still here, but it's beginning to shift. And those old energies would be that of ego-driven systems, greed-driven systems, one where there's no caring at all about any other human being at all, where killing is still that which you can do and feel nothing. And that has been the way of it. And humanity has participated in that. Right here. War after war after war. The last great war ending here. Truly. With the hero's journey of the Battle of Britain. And you know it well. I'm in London. Against all odds, this took place. And I'm telling you that against all odds, human nature, intuition, and human nature itself will start moving toward a benevolent nature, transparency, compassion, and a new rule set of what works for humans with each other and what doesn't. My partner was answering a question about the Palestinians and the Israelis, and saying it's going to take a new breed, a younger leadership on both sides in secret meetings that will face off and say we are tired of what we have. Wipe the slate clean of who did what to whom and when. Let's start again and make it work. Can you imagine a human nature that would do that? That would say, history, go away. We are starting over. It doesn't matter who used to own this or that. How can we now share in a way that makes sense without the history coming in and weighing like it does now and saying, well, yeah, but you did this, and yeah, but you did this. That is a change in everything. And when you start to see that, dear ones, you're at the end of the hero's journey of an old energy. You've slayed the dragons, you've come out with the magic, and another journey begins. A journey into light. And the hero's journey continues and continues, for there's always a horizon you want to go toward that you've never had before. And you'll have the magic as well. You've been to many power places. You've felt many things. For those of you who don't necessarily feel things now, it happens later in retrospect. It happens with every single human in a different way. Some will have immediate reactions and tears just by feeling the ancestors in certain places. And others will feel nothing. And then they'll go home and they'll start remembering the trip and remembering who were those they were with. And it'll come later. And it may not come in tears, but appreciation, peace, a feeling that said, yes, I feel it, that was good. And it pushes you to greater things. Always pushing. Old soul, there's no accident that any of you are here. Even if you don't listen to channels regularly, I will tell you you're here to meet others, to see things, to hear things beyond just the history of the area. This area is powerful with ancestral and ancient celestial information from ancestors. And this is what is most felt. We've even told you about the patterns in the grass. There's magic. We've even told you that the patterns are not stamped but pulled downward from the crystalline grid, and even the energy of the ancestors themselves giving you messages within messages with patterns. A place that does that, you know it's powerful here. You know it is. Whether you think you feel it, you're going to go home with things you didn't expect, if you're open to it with the free choice you have. An old soul is an old soul because they've had a journey on this planet for civilization after civilization. At some level, you can look backwards and you say, I've been there and I've done that, and know that. You're not a newcomer to the planet. You know how things work. You may just feel, well, you're aware of how people think, and you're good at what you do because of it. Dear ones, let me tell you, that is not automatic when you get here. You've had to go through learning after learning after learning to have an intuition that knows how people think. And when you finally come to that conclusion that you're an old soul, the next thing is, what can I do with what I know in this new energy? And then you begin to realize you're the hero. You've come through lifetime after lifetime. You've even used some magic. And some of you have been burned for it. But the magic is still the same. It's the same thing. There's healing inside. Gaia has sentient. Gaia has an attitude of benevolence and beauty. Gaia is part of God and needs to be considered in all things you do that are appreciation of God, whether you call it worship or not. You cannot leave it out. The messages of the ancestors today are telling you that, but now they're getting through. And they're getting through because the old soul is starting to have a veil that's lifting and is hearing it in so many ways. At home, how you treat others, how you treat those at work, how you treat your children. It's different than it used to be. And at the same time, how you have peace over what is happening in your own body, no matter what the doctors tell you. I've just talked to several people here, haven't I? Is it possible that your chemistry can heal better than anything a doctor can do? God bless the doctors, but your body is better than all of them. And if that's the case, this would be ancient information pouring at you from the ancestors. Talk to your cellular structure. It'll tell you what to do, what not to do, what to eat, what not to eat for you, specifically for you. Based upon your Akashic record, where you've been, what you've done before, and what satisfies you now. Healing is yours. But you have to cognize it. That means you have to understand it and believe it. It's a new energy. And the magic that you have, old soul, is that which you believe is part of you today. Are you or are you not part of the creation from a creative source that is love? Are you or are you not? And if you say you're not, then you're just like the bison in the field. That means you have no connection to Gaia. You're just an animal. And I don't think there is one old soul who believes that for a moment. Instead, there are shades of understanding. Well, I want to believe it. I know it's true at some level, but I don't feel it right now. And all of those things are fine because you've just given intent to start a journey. If you don't feel that way, or perhaps you're not aware of that which is inside, I ask the next question, do you want to be? And if the answer is yes, it's so simple. There's no stairs to climb. There's no suffering to be done. There's nobody to report to. There's nobody to call. Because you've got a direct connection to the Creator, and your cellular structure is on target and listening and ready. What comes out of your mouth is what it will believe. If you give intent to want to know more, I want to feel it. I want to know more. It starts by itself simply because intent is the key. Especially today, in a changing energy, with an old soul. You're the graduate. You're the hope of the planet in this lifetime and the next one and the next one. I've said this so many times before. For those of you who don't think you're coming back, how would you feel if you came back fresh, new, young, with the knowledge you would never make the same mistakes you made this time? Would it make a difference? And the answer is, oh yeah. Well, that is what it's going to be. We need you. We need you now to relax and understand that light is something you generate with every step. With every step. Light is not singular. Light broadcasts from you in so many dimensions. It's how love can be felt with two people around the planet. No matter how far they are, they know they're thinking about one another because love has no distance. If you send light to your neighbor, you send it everywhere. If your life is light, it goes everywhere. That is how the old soul begins to change the planet. You've had a journey together for days now. You've had a camaraderie for days now. What if an earth that really doesn't know each other could get together like you have, so that over a period of time you would know each other better and relax and talk things out, so that the future would be filled with those souls who will never go to war again because they know each other. That is the hope of the old soul, the reason Kryon is here, and the reason this message will always be the same. It's not about if it's going to happen, it's about when and how fast. With your intent and free choice, it's unstoppable. You're already seeing it on your news, dear ones. The good and the bad. The reactions are there. The old energy is there. And there'll be less of it in time. Do not be alarmed or put aside or asunder by things that you see are black and dark, because that's exactly what they want you to do, is to fear it. Instead, understand it's part of shift and change, and that light will win, because it's coming from you. Thank you for this journey, for listening to these messages, because now you're abundant in love and knowledge, in wisdom, in duration. I'm in love with humanity because of those like you. And so it is. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive. Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. My partner steps aside, as he must, for a channel like this to be given. He knows what this is like and has done it many times. He's in a place, if you wish to call it that. And he is listening like you are listening. He has distractions, however. that are not the ones you have, and he's spoken of that before. He is not talking now. And again we say, that perception must be clean for you to cognize what is being said. I speak of things that are beyond his knowledge. And I talk about the real energy of this planet that is physical right now. We have spoken of physics many times. We're not going to today. But we're going to talk about physical, three-dimensional things that are affecting you through an interdimensional source that is changing that which you know. We have said now 4 years that this change was coming. The prophecies have been clear in their own vague way that the consciousness of the planet itself was going to shift. That the planet would become softer. And the things unexpected would happen. We even told you there's a wild card coming. And that you're going to get more of them. And they may feature things, inventions you didn't expect, actions you didn't expect, benevolence you didn't expect. Softer energy is coming to you. And that is very sweet, and many have said, that's a good prediction, a wonderful prophecy. I want to tell you what's really happening. I want to give you the ABCs of it, as you say. I want to give you the physicalness and the reality of what's going on. Some of this will appear to you as a review, but it isn't. It's a consolidation of many little pieces that I've given you before to show you what is going on today. The subject is DNA. DNA is not simply a chemical molecule in your body. It is a multi-dimensional piece of divinity. The very molecule that you call DNA is all over the galaxy, dear ones. It is life. It is the way life forms. It is the patterning. It is the geometry of life everywhere. And you're going to see this. Well understood by many, not so well by some. And it's changing. It can only change through physics. You are not receiving any chemical changes from the universe. It's all through physics. I'll review 26 years ago when I came in. I told my partner to write in his first book, and he did, that the magnetic grid of the earth is shifting. And it did. It had to. Because the magnetic grid of the planet is related to, intertwined with, the physics of human consciousness. As goes the grid, goes human consciousness. And it has been approximately the same through your lifetimes. And now it moves a lot. It moved so that it could be positioned to receive something that is now receiving. Think of it as moving the furniture so that you can better view something you didn't know was viewable. And so you're reposturing the grid for something coming to it that it's going to end up being called an evolutionary energy. And it's physical. It's really physical. Months ago and years before that, we told you that your planet is going into a place, if you want to call it that, in space
than it never has been in before. This is not esoteric. Ask an astronomer. Is the solar system coming out of a protective bubble into a new kind of radiation or energy or whatever you can call it that you haven't seen before? Is it possible that your solar system is losing a protective sheath that it's always had because of where it was? I want you to understand your solar system has always been on the move. It rotates around the center of the galaxy. You're always in a new period of time and space, constantly. But all of the lifetimes on this planet you've had have been in one energy, and now it changes. And now it changes. Physically, what is it doing? The new energy is affecting your sun. Because this energy is designed to do that. Dear ones, what if I told you this energy was always here waiting for you to pass the marker? This is an evolutionary energy that's going to affect your sun, the heliosphere of your sun, which then passes to the magnetic field of the earth, which has now been repostured for new consciousness. Oh, there are those who intellectually will say, well, what if we had destroyed ourselves? What if there was no humans to receive this? It's simple. Nothing would have happened. But the area of space was still there. And the same energies would have been there. And you would not have been. Simple. But you are. And so the prophecy itself from the indigenous is being fulfilled a great deal by the new energy that are in space. They affect your sun. The heliosphere of your sun changes. Now the sun had to be quiet for this. I want you to ask an astronomer about the sun and the cycles of the sun. And I want you to ask the astronomer, what period of radiance is the sun in at the moment? And the astronomer will say, well, it appears to be one of the quietest times the sun has ever seen. Solar flares and sunspots are disturbances in the multidimensional field that surrounds the heliosphere of the sun. We wanted it as quiet as possible, and this was timed for that. The sun is quiet. It's affecting your weather. We told you that. Due to its quietness, you're in a cycle of weather that we also predicted that has a lot to do with the energy that's coming. That's physical. Ask an astronomer. They're worried about it, some of them. Others are not. It is affecting you. Now you know why the magnetic grid was changed, when it was changed, and why. That's physical. Now, a bit more esoteric, at the same time this is happening, we gave you the information of the nodes and the nulls. Is it possible that the Pleiadians themselves, having been there at the beginning and knowing about this change, this marker, the ones that actually helped with the prophecies, they actually were the ones that influenced the Mayan calendar, of course, through intuition, would know about this time. The nodes and the nulls are fast-track engines that are affecting the grids of the planet. Consciousness. The grids of the planet affect consciousness. Crystalline, remembrance, magnetic consciousness that is soft or hard. The Gaia grids, all of them are being tempered, fast-tracked, fed, if you want to say, by the nodes and the nulls. This is information, if you haven't heard about it before, is easy to find. I want you to look at the confluence
of energies that are shifting and changing that directly affect one thing: your DNA. The DNA of the human being is ready to shift and change. You'll never see it in a microscope because it's not chemical, it's physics. The 90% of DNA that heretofore was junk, and now you understand it's not, has within it information that is multidimensional and is ready to receive information from the sources I just gave you. Like antennas in your body, the DNA is going to receive and shift, and it's going to affect genetics. Mothers receive it first, pass it to your children. Mothers, you don't even know you got it, and you're passing it to your kids. There is what you would call perhaps an agreement in biology that it would be passed in a new way to the newborns. And the newborns are the ones that would then wake up with the change. And they are. And we're going to talk about Genesis cells in a moment, because this is important that you know what they are. And it will be perhaps new information, or maybe not. It's a Kryon term, not a medical term. There may be medical terms similar. This is different. The baby comes into the planet, and what is going on is you're in a new place in space. You have the nodes and the nulls feeding into the grid new information, and the paradigm of consciousness is different for them than for you. Things start working better. Intuitive self, the barrier between innate and consciousness, all of these things start to improve. The barrier starts to become less. Be ready for children that have intuition about what's wrong with them. And if they tell you something's wrong, take them to the doctor. Don't tell them it's your imagination, honey, or it'll be okay later. Do you hear that? There are those listening to this right now who need to hear that, because their children are looking at them and saying this. I feel funny. Something's wrong. Moms for years used to raising children are used to a paradigm in the old energy. And the paradigm has a certain kind of health template. It's changed. The kids are waking up to being intuitive about their own health. The bridge isn't built yet to innate, but it is close, and they're feeling something, and innate is talking to them for the first time. You didn't get it. They do. Listen to them. The Akash of the child is starting to become clearer. These children are going to tell you so many things about who they've been and what they've done. Church, get ready for it. If you're a parent and you're listening to this now, the worst thing you can do is suppress it. The best thing you can do is to tell the child the absolute truth. The absolute truth. I believe you. There are those who won't. Let's make an agreement when you say it out loud and when you don't. That's truthful. And the child will get it. The child will get it. And it won't disturb things that you don't want disturbed. And the child will know it, because it has an ally called a parent who believes it 100%. These are instructions for kids in the new age. It's going to get even stronger. The children they have will surprise them on how much better certain things work. Now that's a newborn child. instinct is going to work better than it ever has. Now, instinct is not something that you're used to seeing in humans. You see it in animals. Because the offspring of animals, for survival, have an instinct that is passed so well, they can walk within hours of birth. You don't have that. Instinct is starting to become part of that which is Akash. It is chemical as well as being esoteric, as is in animals. You ought to have it, and you will. You're going to see children remembering how to walk and how to eat faster. Faster than they should have. Faster than the doctors that know about child development will give you. It's off the scale. Get ready for it. It's instinct. It's simple chemistry, but it's working better. Just like in the animal kingdom. Children will come in remembering what their parents know, what their parents are able to do, what a human being is able to do, walk and talk, and eat properly. As it is now, every mother in the room knows you start from scratch, nothing, zero, every time a child is born. And that is changing. If you look at the individual cell and DNA itself, if you could say what is happening, it is becoming enabled. Now you're using a funny word, and it's a buzzword in esoteric, and it's called activation. Don't change it, it's fine. But it actually is not accurate. You are releasing DNA from a prison. If you have somebody who is crippled in a chair, now this is going to mean something to those of you who are here, not to those who are listening later, because there's been an example on the screen. A cripple in a chair, shriveled, not able to move. And suddenly they are released slowly from this, and the fingers untangle. The hand starts to become whole again. They start to move and wiggle because of something that's happened to the DNA. Not to the hand, not to the muscles, not to the fingers, not even to the arm, to the DNA. It's a release. I want you to hold this vision. Released from a prison of being crippled. Your DNA is crippled. And it's your free choice of where you wanted to take the energy of this planet, and your DNA cooperated. That is what you've lived with, and that's what's changing. It's not DNA activation, it's DNA release. Release. Look at that. In the paradigm, in your visualization, you're releasing what has been held back. And you're asking how? Do you realize the help that you have? Did you think for a moment that all of this was going to be you just doing things? It involves the galaxy, the part of space you're in, the nodes and the nulls, the creator of the universe. It involves the Pleiadians. It involves your timeline. All of this for you to sit in a new energy and release the DNA. Dear ones, I want to tell you, old souls, there's something you ought to know. You don't have to wait for this. The old soul has the equipment inside right now, just like the newborn. Now, I want you to follow this. We've not talked about this in this way before. Your DNA is filled with information and templates. Now, we are calling them templates, which are patterns and paradigms of life. And they are templates which you have only received partially. Now, what you don't know about a template, it has what we would call patterning of its own. If you have a portion of a template already, that is to say, a piece of the design, it draws to itself the rest of the design if it could get it. Did you understand that? If you have a piece of the picture, that piece has an attitude. An attitude of desire and wanting the rest of the picture. As soon as it's possible to get that, it's like magnetics. It literally flies to itself and the template snaps into place and you get the whole thing. All of you have pieces of the template. And all of those pieces in an old soul are ready to attach themselves, literally calling the names of the rest of the template to come forward. And in this new energy, that is what you can do. You are going to then complete the templates that are missing. Old soul. One of the templates that never goes away is part of a manual. Think of it this way. Although it's not linear, I want you to think of the manual of birth. When you came in, what was the manual like? What page were you on when you were 5 days old? What page were you on at 6 months? What page were you on when you were 30? And you all know that all the pages are different because of the chronology of growing up. The pages are still there. The template is still there for what I call Genesis cells. Genesis cells, as I will define them, are the cells of a newborn which accelerate growth and learning. All the antennas are 10 times as long as they are for you now. The child absorbs the world in 6 months, learns everything in 6 months. Speech, walking, all of the things. Its antennas are so big, listening to the attitudes and the consciousness of every single parent in the room. You know that. It's different for a kid than it is now. And then that slows down. And then you have the adult. Genesis cells, they're still there. The template is still there. The instruction sets for how they're made, if you want to call it that, are still there. By the way, it's all physics. Now, old soul, these cells are available for you now. Just go get them in the book. You do it with affirmations, you do it with consciousness, you do it with meditation. However you communicate with innate, it's ready to activate the Genesis cells. And what that means to you is fast-track growth to enlightenment. To any situation you have, whether it's healing, whether it's teaching, whether it's talent, can you imagine right now, whatever age you are, 10 times? Genesis cells are ready for the old soul. I keep saying old soul. Did you notice? You've got to have graduated. In other words, a number of lifetimes gives you the template information that a newbie would not have that's been on the earth 4 or 5 times. You've got to have 100 lifetimes, maybe 1,000, to develop experience, to recognize what's going on. Every one of you in this room can say to yourself, I know that I've been here before. You know too much. You feel too much. You're in this room. You wouldn't be otherwise. That's been stated. It's accurate and it's true. You're an old soul. Everything I just told you is about the enhancement of the human being in an energy that if you were alert, you would have expected. What does an enhanced old soul look like? And the answer is compassion. I close with this. The secret to mining your Akash is having a compassionate consciousness. Does that surprise you? That's what has been missing all along. If you're going to mine your Akash, that is to be in touch with who you were and start rewriting who you are, you're going to have to come to an agreement of compassion with yourself. lack of anger, care for others, purity of God inside. Now, I've never said that before. That's physics. The physics of consciousness to create compassion creates what I call compassionate action. Then you can start minding your Akash. It's for everyone in the room. An old soul knows how to do this. Those listening, I know who you are. You wouldn't be listening unless you were an old soul, even an uninterested old soul. You are one, you know you are. Compassion is the king of all descriptions of emotion at this point on the planet. It's going to lead you into an evolved state, and without compassion and caring for others, it is not going to work. In fact, nothing will work. Very slowly, there's going to be a split, and we talked to you about it before, those who are compassionate and those who are not. And it's going to be obvious. Obvious. Caring or uncaring. State of mind. That's the split to come. Don't worry about it, compassionate one. When you take the attributes of the Master, light surrounds you. No more fortressing. Some of you know what that is. No more catching the diseases of the day. They won't be able to touch you with compassion. It's physics. It's real. It's physical. And it's happening now. Your society will reflect this sooner than you think. And you turn on your news and you think I'm crazy. Just wait. There's some wild cards coming. Benevolent in a new energy. I'm crying in love with humanity. And so it is. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive.
And I invite you to close your eyes and take a moment to feel the energy of the crystal or the rock that's in your hand. And if you don't have a crystal or a rock, take a moment to feel the energy beneath your feet. For wherever you are standing on Gaia. Even if you're in a building with concrete, underneath that is Gaia. And so allow yourself to feel the energy of Gaia. Many of you may even feel the messages from Gaia being sent to you in this moment. She is deeply honored that we have created an Earth Day. And she asks us that every day is Earth Day. We are reminded of our ancestors who greeted the earth every morning as soon as they arose. They greeted the sun, and there was an alliance. They watched the sun set, and there was an alliance. They saw the seasons come and go, and they understood the reasons for the changes in day and night and temperature, and there was an alliance. And so the message from Gaia is one of gratitude and thanks for acknowledging her, and to invite you to rekindle this alliance that exists. And so we thank Gaia for sharing her precious moments with us in this meditation. And we give thanks and gratitude for the Kryon message to come.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. The series that I have chosen to give you this month would be 4 things that are spectacular, controversial, and true. And this is the 3rd one. And what I'm going to present now to those who are watching this program, you'll say, well, of course. Well, I knew that. But this sequesters the information only to you, and meaning you're aware of it because you have chosen to be interested in this program. But in general, for the planet, what I'm about to give you is controversial. Spectacular because of its truth. True, very true. And what I'm going to tell you, and then speak of it even more in detail, is this. Dear ones, your souls that are eternal, that had no beginning, they just simply always were, difficult for you to understand, and will always be, these are your souls. That's you. That's your essence. That soul of yours plays many roles on this planet. In other words, you reincarnate. Spectacular because it's the plan that helps to advance this planet with a consciousness that you have free choice to use. That is the engine of conscious advancement. Because your soul comes back as one who has been here and done this and has a chance then to advance past that because it lays into your Akash. Like a school would be, to advance the grades lifetime after lifetime. You retain what happened last time and work it out the next time. Some call it karma. It's more than that, dear ones. It's actually not that. The system of past lives gives you the ability to go through this school of earth and learn and advance, but more than that, to come closer to a truth that we have already given you. A basic truth that you are part of God. A basic truth that says that the entire plan is about elevating this consciousness of this planet to mastery. That's the engine. It has to be. If everyone simply came one time, you'd all still be in kindergarten. Now, some have said you still are. In that, I tell you, the cycles of time, some of them being very slow, would actually cooperate with that, for you have cycles of change that sometimes then cooperate to push you into a higher consciousness if you're ready. And one just did. And that's the 2012 shift. That's the reason for Kryon to even be here. Most of your planetary modern religions do not believe in reincarnation. In fact, if you talk to someone who is in one of those belief systems, they'll look at you like you're nuts. Can't be that way. They'll say, if it was that way, how could the doctrine that we believe actually work? Because you're born, you're tested, and then you're either punished or rewarded. That's one time. I will tell you something, dear ones, that is not a God system. That's not a creator system. That's a men's system. You come in. You have to be naughty or nice. Sounds like Santa Claus. And you either get a present or you get tortured. We told you in channel number 1 of the series how illogical and dysfunctional that system is, totally. It's not a loving system. Think about it. It's not from God. The system that is beautiful has you coming and returning.
The first organized religion on this planet, in your time frame, that you can call something that belongs to your civilization, is Hinduism. And in that, the staple of Hinduism is reincarnation. This is just to give you a sample of this answer to a question: what was the first intuitive thoughts of humans back then, without a doctrine to think about, without rules? What did they come up with that they could grasp and work with together? And the system was love, compassion, and included past lives. Subsequent to that, there have been others also that include past lives. On the planet right now, there are billions who still believe that reincarnation is not just a possibility, but is the way it works. But I am talking to a culture and those cultures around this culture that often do not believe it. Spectacular it is, because this truth is actually the kernel, the seed, the engine, as I said, to an advanced planet, to coming back. Some have said, well, what about the indigenous? You know, I don't hear much about past lives of the indigenous. They do it differently, dear one. Listen to them talking about their ancestors. Why would they go to so much trouble to capture the wisdom of their ancestors, to pray to their ancestors, to go there almost every single time they go into any kind of a meditation or a ceremony? And the answer is this: because they understand that they are their own ancestors. That part of that wisdom is translated through the earth, the dirt of the earth, right back to them. This is their form of understanding the cycle. Ask the indigenous about the cycles. They'll give you the same information I have. There is a grander plan, dear ones, and it all is part of coming back. There are so many things that I could give you, so many examples of the beauty of a returning human. In all of these things, I want you to know this. You, your soul, could hardly wait to get here. I will tell you something else, controversial to the max. You chose your parents. We have said this before, that there are so many of you right now going, you got that one wrong, Kryon. Others may have chosen their parents. I would never have chosen those. You did. You chose them for numbers of reasons. You didn't choose them so that you would have a test or you would have a troubling life. You chose them because you might be their teacher. Old soul that you are. There are many old souls who choose young soul parents, so that those parents might learn from you. And you might say, well, I'm not really sure my parents learned anything from me. You don't know what you don't know. Things go in and they settle. Souls learn differently than humans learn. There are systems afoot. Your consciousness of what you believe affects others in ways you don't even think they do. All part of this plan. My partner, he asked and answered a question. Both asking and answering, why do some have to die early? The answer is they don't have to. But they had an agreement. And if you look at it this way, that before they ever came in, the agreement was this, that if they achieve a high consciousness to that state at which they can, that some of them said, I'm going to leave early and come back and continue right away so this planet has a chance. A population of the future with wisdom. And so no matter what you do for them, it doesn't help. And as you stand perhaps at the ceremony in their memorial, with tears running down your face, There's still some wise ones among you that say, thank you for the plan, for they will affect this planet, and I'm going to be there because I'm coming back too. Spectacular, true, beautiful. And that's who you are. Now you know why. I am in so much love with humanity for what you do for each other, for the universe, for this beautiful earth. Truly spectacular. And so it is.